No more hate protection in Bill C-9. Carney flip-flops on the Alberta MOU, and the Liberals drop another censorship bill. Welcome to the Conservative Corner. My name is Nico Lagan, and I'm joined by my co-host, David Graydon. How you doing, sir?
Oh, pretty good tonight. How are you, Nico?
One of those days. It is one of those days where, there's some days you just want to stay in bed, sleep, and shut everything off. That was it for me.
One of those days for you, was it?
Yep, it happens. Shit happens. But luckily for us, it never ends, does it? Well,
No.
not for a little while at least. So let me ask you this. Did you, I know you did, but you heard about Bill C-9 and the amendments that they just voted in yesterday as per the Bloc Québécois requests. So now the good faith portion of the section 319 of the criminal code will be removed if this bill passed, because now it just finished in the committee. It's going back to the common. It's going back to the House of Commons in order to be voted for the third time on. And religious speech in Canada could become hate speech. That's basically what Bill C-9 has become. Are you surprised by this, or did you
No, I'm
expect
not.
this?
And no, I'm not surprised. And whether or not they take this hate speech or the religious exemption out of the bill or not, it's a bad bill. It's toxic.
Yeah.
I keep
Yep.
telling people this. It's not just, it's okay if they keep the religious exemption in. No, it's bad.
No.
This
Yep.
is a bill that's going to criminalize more of our free speech. And it's become symbols. And I don't know what Andrew Lawton was talking about last night. He said, can we include the hammer and sickle in this? Don't include anything in this. I don't want any symbols being criminalized. I don't want any speech being criminalized. I don't want any more hate speech or hate crimes. I don't care if somebody kills somebody because of their ethnicity or their sexuality.
Yep.
I really don't give a damn. If they kill somebody, base it on the fact they killed somebody. But don't complicate matters because, they hated them because of their sexuality or because of their religion or their ethnicity. This is bullshit. This is, absolute bullshit. We have to get back to basics here. And it doesn't matter why people are, if people are motivated by hatred of ethnicity or anything else, if you kill somebody, you're obviously being motivated by hatred. That's why you kill people. That's why people are killed. It's stupidity to have hate crimes, and it's even more stupidity to double down on it now with hate speech legislation that just keeps getting worse.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. It's insane that we need to reiterate the fact that if you're killing people, you're probably very hateful of nature. It's probably you don't do this. You can tell me that you did it out of love. Obviously, you did it out of hate. But they are, as Bruce Party was saying last week on our podcast on the political orphans, that they are criminalizing emotions, and that's what that's what it's become. How one feels can now be a crime. How you make somebody feel can now be a crime. This is what Bill C-9 has become. And, yesterday I was invited to a call that they named, and I'm paraphrasing, I can't remember exactly the title, but it was for Christian leaders in Canada. So I got forwarded the invitation by a friend of mine, and there was Andrew Lawton was on that call. There was a bunch of, I can't remember their names. I've heard of them before, but I can't remember by heart. Michael something is who organized the call. But all to say that there were, as per what they were saying, 900 different Christian leaders on the call. And it was about to inform people that the vote in committee, the Justice Committee, was voting on Bill C-9 today. And even in that call, I wasn't sold. It seems like even the Christian leaders in Canada are not that sold. Like, they don't seem to be. It's a Bill C-9 is a problem. I don't understand why Andrew Lawton, that was on that call, would even suggest the hammer and sickle, unless he was trying to be sarcastic to say, you're not, like, he knew that they wouldn't put the hammer and sickle in, so he's kind of making a point like, okay, hold on. So the hammer and sickle that has killed probably 10 times more people than the Germans did during the Second World War is not a problem, but their sign is their. Maybe that's what it is. I didn't watch the video. Maybe that's what he meant, but I don't understand why we're talking amendments. I don't understand why we're trying to remove parts of Bill C-9. It should be scrapped as a whole. That bill should not exist in its entirety. That bill should not be a bill whatsoever. I don't know what's so hard to understand about this. I don't know why the conservatives are not more vocal about this. I don't get why Pierre Poilievre once again is having other people do his dirty work instead of speaking about this.
No, I don't understand what Andrew was getting at there, because we don't need more examples of hate symbols. We need less examples of hate speech. It's ridiculous. This whole thing is stupidity. So I hope he was trying to be sarcastic with this. But I reiterate what you said. Why isn't Pierre Poilievre making this job number one instead of putting it off on a backbench MP? Like, Andrew Lawton, he's fairly well known for his media background, and I take my hat off to him. I don't take one bit away from what he's done here, but this is this is a foundational right to democratic freedom in Canada, and Pierre Poilievre should be out there every day talking about it, not having backbenchers talk about it. This is the problem for me, and he's not doing that.
And that's all I'm doing. This is what blows my mind. It's all I'm doing is talking about this. I literally posted 2 or 3 times about it just today. I will post at least once a day about what's going on with the censorship bills in Canada, yet the so-called conservative leader will not approach it, will not give it justice, will not address it as free speech is dead. Because people tend to forget that in Bill C-9, it describes, it finally gives a definition of hate, which is idiotic. Literally, it is more than disdain. It is an emotion that is stronger than disdain. What the fuck does that mean? I almost got Bruce Party on the episode last week to swear, because even him, as a law professor, cannot understand how we can allow criminalization of emotions. How can you define emotion in court? Basically, the way he said it, it is up to the judge to figure that out. So basically, Bill C-9 will make hate a gray area that can be judged. That the judge will have 100% power to decide, were you being hateful or were you not being hateful? Were you just mad or were you being hateful? Because God forbid that it was motivated by hate, because if you are hateful in your heart, it is way worse to kill someone when you're hateful than to kill someone like a sociopath or a psychopath with no remorse or emotion. It's so idiotic, it makes absolutely no sense, and Pierre Poilievre is not addressing it. Pierre Poilievre is allowing other people to do his dirty work once again, and I'm not surprised. I speak against Pierre Poilievre all the time because he's not a conservative, but I wonder what it's going to take for the conservatives in Canada, the so-called conservatives, and I'm not talking the big C conservative. I'm talking about the people that believe that they are conservative in Canada, the small C conservative. What the fuck is it going to take for them to wake up that Pierre Poilievre is not the man to lead them? That Pierre Poilievre is not a leader? That Pierre Poilievre is not a conservative? He's not there to save Canada, nor does he want to. He clearly is very comfortable being the so-called opposition leader because it pays well. He has a great pension that he's working to make bigger and bigger and bigger, and you have no fucking responsibility because he can ditch all that shit to his backbenchers. What is it gonna take, you think, for people to wake up to this. Because when you and I started to do this show almost 4 months ago, our goal was to kind of, not, I don't want to say educate, but to inform the conservatives in Canada and kind of try to find a new direction for just for conservatism as a whole in Canada, because that is what's needed to counter what the liberals have been doing over the past almost 11 years now. So what do you think it's going to take? Because it seems that Bill C-2 is not enough, Bill C-8 is not enough, Bill C-9 is not enough, Bill C-12 is not enough, Bill C-16 that we're going to talk afterwards is not enough. The retabling of a new Bill C-63 before Christmas is not enough. The fact that our liberals are sending all our money to Ukraine, that it's okay for Ukraine to build a pipeline, it's okay for Brookfield to own the biggest pipeline in the US at $9 billion, but it's not okay for Alberta to have their own. Like, what is it going to take for conservatives in Canada to wake up that something is very wrong and the people in power are not the one that are going to fix it?
Well, I think Poilievre's doing a great job on the pipeline. I have to give him credit for that, because I think last night was very, very instrumental in the history of Canada. It showed that we have a government that is basically working for the corruption and the self-enrichment of the prime minister and nobody else. And I think Poilievre has only scratched the surface of that, but I think Poilievre is the only conservative who really understands what Carney's up to here in terms of the pipeline. But is he doing enough on other issues? No, he's not doing enough on free speech. I will agree with you on that. He should be up there front and center, because if we lose our free speech in this country, we lose everything. We lose everything. There's a great line from one of my favorite movies, which is, I think, probably fallen into political correctness now. It's called Gods and Generals. It's about the American Civil War. And the character playing Stonewall Jackson in that movie, one of the great Confederate generals, one of the great generals in American history, he says, if the North loses this war, they'll go back to their banks and their factories like nothing ever happened. He says, if we lose this war, we lose everything. And this is what I keep saying about free speech in this country. If we lose our free speech in this country, we lose everything. We have nothing left to call ourselves a democracy. Stop talking about pipelines. Stop talking about jail, not bail. Stop talking about safe communities and safe streets. If we lose our free speech, we don't have a country. We don't have a democratic country anymore. We don't have anything resembling what Canada has been for what we all grew up in. And I don't know if any more children are going to grow up in a free Canada if we lose that. So Pierre Poilievre, get off your ass and start talking about Bill C-9 and start talking about free speech being the most important thing. The pipeline's important, but not half as important as free speech is.
And that's exactly my point. I don't even care that he talks about pipelines, because they're not getting a pipeline. They're not. The MOU was pretty damn clear that nothing is going to happen. And Carney is refusing to acknowledge or to back his own MOU. The motion that Pierre Poilievre put forward this week, they're laughing at it. They don't care. It's not going to happen. It was a piece of paper that's not worth wiping your ass with. The only thing that it did, that it exposed Daniel Smith for being in favor of the WEF green agenda, that is carbon tax at least $130 a ton, and the carbon capture pathway project, that she condones that, and she believes that Alberta oil should be 20 to 30% more expensive than the world market, but they need a pipeline to sell a product that's going to be overpriced, that nobody's going to buy, that we can't even compete with the US. You know what? It's a tragedy for Alberta that their leader believes that that was a good deal. So to me, Mark Carney refusing to acknowledge his own MOU was a good thing for Alberta, because that MOU is proven now to just be a piece of garbage. And Alberta doesn't want that deal. They don't need carbon taxes. They don't need carbon capture. They have a great product already. They can be competitive without extra taxes. But why are we even talking about this when free speech is under attack. Because it's not just Bill C-9. Sean Fraser just tabled Bill C-16, where they're making femicide a thing. They want hate speech. They want hate against women to be quantified when an act is committed against women. So basically, women's lives are now, as per the liberals, women's lives are more valuable than men's lives. Because God forbid that you commit a crime against a woman, now you're going to be hateful against women. You know, I don't condone violence against women, don't get me wrong here. I don't condone any type of violence unless you're defending yourself. But does that mean that women committing a crime against a woman is hateful towards every single woman out there? Because I'd be ready to bet that if a lesbian commits a crime against another lesbian or another woman, she will not be accused of hate speech. But if a heterosexual guy commits a crime against a woman, he will be accused of hate on top of the crime that he commits. It's absolutely insane. But I don't understand. The question is for the people out there, because I see there's a few messages that are saying that, I'll show them here, that Nico's out for lunch, that, wow, this guy has a hate on. So, you know what? Okay, cool. I hear you. Why? What has Pierre Poilievre done to address the hate speech problem that we have in Canada right now? And by hate speech problem, I mean the legislations, the policies, the bills that the liberal governments are trying to pass with the aid of the Bloc Québécois. Because to me, I don't care. I really don't care about pipelines right now. I don't care about anything else than free speech. This is literally all I talk about now, because it's absolutely insane. If we lose our free speech, we already don't have a lot of it in Canada, but if we lose the little bit that we have, we can no longer call out our government for what they're doing. So there's no way for us to inform the people that something is going on. There's no way to criticize the government anymore. We will become like the UK, and I would argue that we will probably become worse than the UK. So if that's not I don't understand why that is not the only thing Pierre Poilievre is talking about right now.
Well, we're on the same page. I've been saying this too. Every day on my show, I talk about the fact that this is the only thing that really matters.
Yep.
This is why I say, you can spend hours talking about pipelines, but we're not going to have a country anymore. And this is why I bring it down to the American Civil War. It's that important. It really is, in terms of what kind of a country you're going to have after this. And I don't know if Poilievre gets this. I don't know if most conservative voters get this. I don't know if most Canadians get this at all, that they're trying to take away our foundational freedoms in this country. And if we lose that, we've lost it all. It's that simple. And we're that close. We're that close to losing it all. And it's not just about religious exemption. This is why I'm furious about this. Don't think, it's a great bill if they put the religious exemption. They keep the religious exemption. No, it's a horrible bill. Yep. Whether it's religious exemption is in it or not, it's a horrible bill. And get this into your head. This is where we're at in this country, but I'm sorry. Not enough people are getting it, Nico. Not enough people are getting it all.
So Sophie Taylor is saying Larry Brock and Andrew Layton are fighting back hard. They have been amazing. You know what? I don't know if you were there at the beginning, but I was on a Zoom call yesterday with Andrew Lawton. And yes, he's doing what it seems to be his best, but he is not who we're criticizing here. He is not the one that should be doing this. It's Pierre Poilievre as the leader of the Conservative Party that should be beating that drum, not a backbencher. That's the point we're trying to make, is that the opposition leader should be speaking about one thing right now. Hate speech, keeping our freedom of speech. That's it. That should be the only thing he speaks about, yet he's having other people in his party do the dirty work for him instead of being beating that instead of beating that drum day in, day out. There's nothing else that matters outside of our free speech. If we lose free speech, what the fuck's the point? What's the point? We're literally seeing it getting eroded in front of our eyes through Bill C-8, through Bill C-16, and before Christmas, guys, we're going to have a third one. Bill C-63 is going to get retabled. The Bill C-16 that they tabled yesterday is not it, because this one came from Sean Fraser. The new Bill C-63 will come from Mark Miller, the Minister of Canadian Identity and Culture. So we have yet another bill. That's three bills.
I don't know if that's
three
the case.
bills.
I think the reinvented C-63 will come from Sean Fraser. He promised to reintroduce that. So I don't think that's accurate. But I don't.
Carney announced 2 weeks ago that it would be the responsibility of Mark Miller. He did mention that it would be his responsibility, and he's
I must have missed that. But
either way, at the end of the day, it does not matter. I don't care who puts it together between Sean Fraser. We won't argue between who's worse, Sean Fraser or Mark Miller. They're both supposedly Christians, so which one's worse, right? But three bills. You know what, David? Let me ask you this. You've been in politics for what, 30 years? You've been involved around politics for about 30 years, maybe more. I don't want to age you more than you already are.
I'm 51, okay? I'll tell you how old I am, okay?
And you've been around politics for what, 30 years, give or take?
30 years easily, yeah.
Okay. So have you ever seen, because we're talking massive bills that have been pushed by the Liberal government over the past 10 months. Bill C-2, Bill C-8, Bill C-9, Bill C-12, Bill C-16, and we're going to have a new Bill C-63. So that is 6 bills within 10 months that will completely change Canada. Bill C-2 is a surveillance bill for everything that is supposed to be an export. Bill C-8 is about refining our telecommunications by allowing Mélanie Joly as a minister to de-internet anybody she sees fit. C-9 is supposedly a hate speech bill. C-12 is a smaller version of Bill C-2 that is still problematic. Bill C-16 is supposed to protect women and gender-based hate. And the new Bill C-63 will be the new Online Act or Protection Online Act, however they want to call it now. But have you ever seen anything like it? Have you ever seen a government push so many massive bills? And that's on top of the program that Gary Apoob, whatever his last name is, has passed for the gun grab. Like they've been testing in Nova Scotia. 22 guns were provided, and he thought that was a success, and now they're going to move forward for a whole country gun grab. So those are 7 things that the government has done over the past 10 months. Have you ever seen anything like it in 30 years?
Absolutely not. No, I haven't. This is the most oppressive authoritarian government I've ever seen in my life. No. And it's absolutely incredible. So I just have to plug myself in. So here I'm going to say something for 10 seconds here.
No worries. I'll take some of the comments here. And the questions for you guys out there too, is Pierre Poilievre doing enough? Do you think that it's normal for a government, especially a government that's only been in power for 10 years supposedly, but we all know that Mark Carney's been behind the scenes for years now, behind Justin Trudeau, but are you guys not worried about the 6 bills I mentioned, C2, C8, C9, C12, C16, C63, and the gun grab that's going on right now that will be turned onto the whole Canada, not just Nova Scotia? Does that not worry you guys? Have you guys seen anything like this before? Because I've never seen anything like this, so I have no idea why there are not more conservatives that are worried about this. Yep. So I was just asking the audience if they've seen anything like it, and you know, I went on a massive rant last week when I was calling out the other supposedly conservative content creators in Canada. You joined in. I made a video, posted it on X, and it actually did quite a bit of views. And I got Mark Nixon to answer. I got Jasmine Lane to answer. I lost control of the comments, so I don't know who else has answered that I called out directly. But they're not making a big deal of the censorship bills either. They're talking about them, but not as the death penalty that they actually are to Canada's speech. And I don't know if there's something that we can do at this point to wake people up, if the people that are supposedly the independent media that we need to listen to, that the people that are not CBC followers are supposed to listen to, if they don't talk about it either, or not to the extent that they should.
No, we're not getting the attention that this issue needs, and I don't know what else we have to say. And clearly, it's because it's not getting the attention of the official opposition leader that it needs. And you've said it, I've said it. It needs more attention than just a backbench MP and just a former journalist. And I don't know what's going on here. It's almost as if we're committing suicide as a country. It's almost like we're doing that because there's just so little pushback on this that it surprises me, amazes me, but at the same time is just so disconcerting.
You know, Sabrina has a great comment here. Sabrina is saying the government in the UK was the same way. The opposition was no longer effective. I found it hard to believe. Now here we are on the same trajectory. And that's the whole point, right? How many people would have believed that that's where we are right now a year ago, a year and a half ago, that we would be sitting here talking about 6 different bills that will literally take most of our rights away, that will turn us into a surveillance state, censored surveillance state, and the average Canadian could not be bothered. This is the part that blows my mind, is that the average Canadian could not be bothered by this. They will happily watch their Netflix tonight like everything is normal, and yet their rights are about to be taken away. Our economy's collapsing. Our censorship is going to be on the scale of the UK. And we have a population that just is sleepwalking through life like it's going to be okay.
I know.
I don't even know what to tell people. Like, I don't even know what to say anymore outside of repeating it. But do you know, I came to the conclusion that it's going to have to get worse. I don't think there's a solution. I'm going to continue talking about it like my life depended on it. But I strongly, strongly believe that we are at the end of the cycle. You know, the good men, strong men create good times create weak men create hard times create weak men. We are there now. Like, we are in the hard times and most men are weak. And it needs to get harder yet in order for strong men to do something about it, because I don't know what else it could be. And I asked the same questions to Bruce Party. He agrees that it's going to need to get worse in order for people to wake up. I don't know what you think about it, but I don't know if there's a solution if I look at what's going on in front of us right now.
Do people have to be pushed into concentration camps to realize it's too late? I don't know. It shouldn't have to come to that. We all have grown up with a sense of history in this country. We know how authoritarian regimes start. We know what the process is. We're watching it happen right now in front of her. Maybe that's what makes it so difficult for people. They just can't believe what they're seeing, perhaps. They can't believe it's happening to us. This is something that happens to other people. The same sort of reaction when someone in your family perhaps gets sick. You think, well, it can't be happening to me. This is something that happens to other families. This is something that I've seen other people have to deal with, but not me, not my family. But this is exactly what's happening in Canada. We are going down a path to authoritarianism, the same way the UK has gone down this path. And the funny thing is, of course, we're watching the old mother country. You know, the UK is the country we all came from, if not literally in terms of immigration, philosophically. This is what Canada is all about. We inherited the freedom that Great Britain brought to the world. And Great Britain has become something far less than great just within the last couple of years, especially during the tenureship of Herr Keir Starmer, the fascist dictator of Great Britain right now. And I watched an incredible video this week. I put it on my show twice this week because it's incredible how Great Britain, the UK, has become a slave state. You cannot say anything without fearing for the consequences. And in this particular moment, this was on, a show that I don't always watch. It's very, very popular, but I put 10 minutes of this show on my broadcast because this woman made a comment, and, it's being referred to as the F word. I'll spell it out because I don't want you demonetized.
Hold on. Is that the word faggot? I'll say it. I have no problem saying it.
Okay. It's your show. I didn't want to demonetize you. Okay.
Oh, I've said it before.
She said the word, Nico, not on a social media post, but in a private text. And apparently, as she explains, well, she didn't even mean it in a sense of, maligning homosexuals in general. It was sort of an internal remark that they make amongst her peers. And she had no idea this offended anybody because she was physically attacked by somebody, and she referred to this individual as a faggot in her private text message. Before she knew it, 11 cops showed up at her front door, 10 of them male. They walk through the front door, which is not open, but it's unlocked. She was expecting her father to arrive. They walk up the stairs like they've been there before or something, walk into the bathroom where this woman's having a bath, and they stand there looking at her, gaping at her as she's nude in the bath and demanding that she explain her actions for using this word in a private text. One of the cops was a female. 10 of the cops were males. My first reaction when I heard this is, excuse my language, why the fuck weren't these cops charged for sexual harassment and potentially sexual assault? And why was this woman charged for using language they didn't like in a private text? Now, this to me has completely gone over the line, is beyond the pale, but illustrates what Canada could soon become. We got 11 goddamn cops at my door for something I said, just like they had 120 cops at an ostrich farm in British Columbia. It's the same idiocy.
You're talking about Elizabeth Kinney, is a mother of 4 that was sexually abused. I believe sexually abused / raped. She had her cranium cracked. Her skull was cracked in the assault. And she called the assaulter a faggot in a private text to who she believes was a friend. The friend reported her to the police for using that term, and that is why she got arrested. And you know what's even worse is that she was sentenced to 12 months of community service, 72 hours of unpaid work, and 10 rehabilitation activity days. She was ordered to pay 364 euros in cost. And yet, the guy that sexually assaulted her walks the street, has never been accused of anything yet. So she is literally she has faced more time for saying the word faggot than than the men that sexually assaulted her. That is the reality of the UK, and that will become the reality of Canada soon enough if Bill C-9 and Bill C-16 and Bill whatever the bill number is going to be for the new Bill C-63. But that is the reality, and you're absolutely right. And this is the reality of thousands of people in the UK, Tommy Robinson being one of them. He has the audacity to talk against immigration, to say that uncontrolled immigration is a problem and we shouldn't have mass immigration going on in the UK because it has destroyed their country. Oh, and he got arrested. How many days did he spend in jail? How many days did he spend in court? How much money has he spent in court? Like, it's love the guy or hate the guy. I don't really care. That's what free speech is all about. Free speech is not about protecting the speech that you love, but about protecting the speech that you don't agree with. That's what free speech is all about. And I believe in 100% free speech. You know, I was corrected the other day by Bruce Party. He said one thing. I believe in absolute free speech, but he said, you know, when it comes to the law, physical threats are problematic. So there's a difference between saying, I don't think that, you know, as a Christian, I think that homosexuality is a sin. Okay, cool. That's one thing I believe in. That doesn't mean I hate homosexuals. That simply means I do not think that homosexuality is okay in the eyes of God. That is what I believe. This is not what he made us to be. Does that mean I hate homosexuals? It doesn't. Absolutely not. That's not what it means at all whatsoever. But this is the reality that we're facing in Canada. So mere speech is going to get you in trouble. I understand why a threat is not okay. A physical threat to someone, does that go against free speech? Yeah, no, not really. Because if you're threatening me to do something, guess what? I'm going to do something too. So there is consequences to your speech when it comes to threatening somebody. But, you know, for the people out there, free speech doesn't mean that there's no consequences to your action. I'm saying it. It doesn't mean that if I start saying really bad things online that my employer, if I still work for the man, would still want to keep me. You know what they said about Charlie Kirk, the people that were celebrating his death after he was shot? There's hundreds of people in Canada and the US that lost their jobs because their employers saw what they did, saw what they said about Charlie Kirk, and they saw their celebration videos, and they're like, you know what? I don't want that as an employee. That's not an attack on free speech. On the contrary, you have so much free speech that you can hang yourself with free speech, and that's what I want.
That's what I want too.
There's let me get a few of the comments because there's some really good comments out there. Derek Seitler is saying that Pierre Poilievre passed on his chance at the budget vote on November 7th. I completely agree. Just the fact that he did not, because those bills would be gone now. We would be facing a Christmas election, sure, boo fucking hoo, but we would still, Bill C2 would have been scrapped. Bill C8 would have been scrapped. Bill C9 would have been scrapped. There wouldn't have been a Bill C16. Bill C63 wouldn't have been retabled. So all those bills would have been scrapped. They would have had to be redone if the Liberals won.
I don't think Poilievre wanted a Christmas election. I think that's all there is to it. And, you know, as I've said, I've given these free talking points to the Conservative Party Canada all week, and I don't work for the Conservative Party Canada, want to work for the Conservative Party Canada, and they can't hire me. But I've given them these free talking points. You want to run on an election? Run on anti-corruption. It worked in 1957 with John Diefenbaker after 22 straight years of Liberal government. People thought, well, you know, even in those days, the government of, at that time, Louis Saint Laurent, and prior to that, Mackenzie King, were so ensconced with the establishment. There was so much crony capitalism going on, even in those days, that John Diefenbaker was able to run on an anti-corruption campaign in 1957. He won a minority government. And a year later, he won the largest majority up to that point in Canadian history. And Pierre Poilievre doesn't want to run on an anti-corruption platform. And that could be the secret to him actually winning. Don't start talking about your goddamn safe streets and safe communities and jail, not bail, and your usual talking points. Talk about we've got a corrupt prime minister. Everywhere he goes, Brookfield goes too. He's making billions of dollars off of his prime ministership. And does Pierre Poilievre want to talk about that? Well, once again, that's something that's delegated to the backbenchers or to committee meetings. That's where we hear about. Pierre Poilievre doesn't want to talk about that either, how corrupt Mark Carney is. That's where he should be going. If he wants to win the next election, that's where he needs to attack.
And, you know, you're absolutely right. He could address two things, free speech, and he could address the corruption from Mark Carney when it comes to Brookfield. And that's something I'm going to be going into detail in my show at 8 o'clock tonight. But the ethic commissioner confirmed yesterday, or on December 8th, the ethic commissioner confirmed Mark Carney's future earnings rely on the success of Brookfield Corporation. In committee,
exactly,
the ethic commissioner on December 8th said that Mark Carney's future earnings are dependent on how Brookfield does. Just, you know, I'm going to post about this when I'm done, but the MOE, so Mark Carney does not want Alberta to have new pipelines, yet he just pledged to Ukraine that he will help them rebuild theirs. Brookfield, over the past year, bought the most expensive pipeline in the US, $9 billion that it cost. So he has no problems with pipelines. He just doesn't want Albertans in Canada to have pipelines. But for his bank account, pipelines are good. But yet, when is Pierre Poilievre talking about this? What I just said right now. Like, that could be a massive talking point considering that he is out of Alberta. He's out of Alberta. That's where he's representing. But can you imagine if he just said that? Yeah, Mark Carney does not want a pipeline, but he's okay with rebuilding Ukraine's. And he's okay with his company that he still owns about $10 million in an investment right now, owning the biggest pipeline in the US. Those talking points just write themselves up. So I agree with you. Instead of he could run an anti-corruption / free speech platform. Free speech first and anti-corruption. That could literally be his whole platform.
That's what I've been saying.
It's really that simple. Like, it's so simple that he'll never do it. Because, you know what? Let me ask you this. Do you think he really wants to be prime minister?
You've asked this me before. I think so. I've known Pierre Poilievre for 21 years. I think that's what he was born to be. I really do think he wants to be prime minister. But I think he figures he's got years to get there because he spent literally his entire adult life in politics. Very few people have done that. And he got elected 21 years ago as a member of parliament in an Ottawa area seat. He stayed there until he was defeated in the last federal election. Then he got a by-election. Now he's back. I don't know if he wants to be prime minister right now. I think he had a chance to do that. But I think he wants to be prime minister eventually. Yeah, I definitely think so. I think he really believes he was born to be prime minister. Yeah.
You believe he believes that he was born to be prime minister.
Oh, absolutely. This is, you know, people in high school, Nico, in their yearbook, it says he's going to be prime minister someday. I don't know what Pierre Poilievre's yearbook looks like wherever he went to school in Calgary, but that's the sort of thing that would have been in his yearbook. And all the years that he went through, as starting out as a backbench MP and gradually becoming more and more obvious and more vocal within the Stephen Harper government. It was all about Pierre Poilievre eventually becoming prime minister. He saw himself in that role. He saw himself eventually becoming prime minister. But, he's still a young man. I mean, he's probably younger than both of us, actually. But
Hold on.
maybe not younger than you. I don't know. He's certainly a lot younger than I am. But he is definitely looking for the day when he becomes prime minister. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but someday. I don't think he wants to stay leader of the opposition. But let's look at it this way. If he stays as leader of the opposition for another 2 or 3 years, I mean, the pension is going to be glorious because he's been an MP for over 20 years, and he's been leader of the opposition now for 3 years, and it just keeps going up. But I do think, yes, to be quite frank and honest, I do think he wants to be prime minister. Yeah.
He's 46 years old. He was born in 1976, so he is 3 years older than I am. But yeah, I don't know. I don't think he wants to. I don't think, you might have a point. I don't think he wants to be right now. So no matter what, it's extremely selfish. And that's why I don't believe he should be the leader of the opposition whatsoever. Do you think that he has a leadership review in January? Do you think it's possible that it's not going to go his way?
No, I don't believe that at all. There's just nobody who can take his place right now, and I can't really see that happening. So we'll see, but I really doubt it because there's a lot of people who could be called more principled conservatives in the Conservative Party of Canada. I'm thinking of Jamel Javez. I'm thinking of Lesson Lewis. I'm thinking of other folks. There are some, but none of them have the presence, and none of them have the national presence that Pierre Poilievre has sort of gained over the last couple of years. And I don't see anybody just taking his place. And the Conservative Party is fractured right now, totally fractured over Alberta. And you have to remember, Alberta is the cradle stone of the conservative movement in Canada, always has been. And the Conservative Party of Canada reacts as Alberta reacts. And right now, there's a huge fission between Pierre Poilievre and Danielle Smith over this pipeline project. And so I don't think there's anybody who's going to come to the fore right now and say, I oppose Pierre Poilievre, because Poilievre is the only one who really gets it in terms of what Carney's doing with this pipeline. Danielle Smith, I don't think gets it. We've been through this last week. Or maybe she gets it better than any of us. I don't know, but I don't think so. But I think Poilievre's playing the pipeline very, very politically astutely, and I think he's to be congratulated on that for doing the right thing on the pipeline. And I don't think, because he's taking the right position on the pipeline, anybody's going to come up and say, your time's up here, Poilievre. I can't see that happening. And I don't see anybody gutsy enough in the Conservative Party of Canada to say you're not fighting hard enough on the issues that really, really matter, like free speech. I can't see that happening. That would be deemed as just too far right wing for a Canadian Conservative Party. And because we're dealing increasingly, I hate to say it, but it does look like the Uni-Party in this country.
Oh yeah.
I've always
100%.
wanted to believe otherwise, but increasingly I'm looking at it and thinking, it's like they're working together on so many things, and it scares the hell out of me, because if they're working together, who's working for us? I'm not sure anybody is.
Nobody is, because Pierre Poilievre proved it on November 7th when he avoided voting against. He had the chance to vote the Liberal budget down. He had the chance to trigger an election because the Bloc and the NDP, the Bloc proposed amendments, the NDP backed them. the conservative decided to back the liberals. Yet nobody speaks about that, right? Nobody wants to address this. He had the power, but when it came to, what was it, November 17th or November 18th, he played the big boy. And they made it a whole fucking comedy act. Like, oh, no, we're voting it down. Hey, why didn't you do that 10 years prior when it actually mattered? This is that I don't get how people still don't see that there's a Uni-Party in Canada. And it doesn't matter the party you vote for. It seems like they all work for the same people, and it ain't us. And I tried to find reasons as to why Daniel Smith even considered that MOU, considering that if you read it, it's all about the net zero agenda that the WEF has been putting forward for 2050. It's all about the green agenda, carbon taxes and carbon capture. Yet she signed it, sold it like she was doing a great thing. And since then, if you notice, she's only talking about being a federalist. Like, she has mentioned it so many times that she's a federalist. I think she wants his job. I think she wants to be prime minister, and she doesn't care about Alberta. Because again, you can like Daniel Smith, and I did. I actually was a big fan of Daniel Smith and praised her until that MOU. When I covered that MOU live, I could not believe what the words that were coming out of her mouth. And again, I don't know what it's going to take for people to realize that Daniel Smith is not for Alberta. She wants to be prime minister. Pierre Poilievre is probably in a bad relationship with Daniel Smith now because he knows she wants his job, while Pierre Poilievre seems to be backing Carney on pretty much everything that matters.
Let me tell you one thing here, Nico, before I forget, because I should have mentioned this earlier.
Yep.
Mark Carney made a strategic error in not supporting this motion last night in the House.
Of course.
Nobody has even mentioned this. Maybe you did today. I didn't catch your show, but nobody is pointing this out. Is that Mark Carney could have appropriated the Conservative Party of Canada last night by saying, we embrace this motion. Thank you for joining with the government. But this is a government that is so in it for Mark Carney, they don't get it. This was a beautiful opportunity for the government to just totally annex the opposition and to say, thank you so much, Pierre, for joining with us. And the only party that's not agreeing is that goddamn separatist bunch of blockheads. But the Federalist parties were in this together for Alberta. That's how stupid the Liberals are. And that's how fixated Mark Carney is on making Mark Carney richer in the job. Because instead of sending out Hodgson, that idiot, one of the most stupid members of the cabinet, next to who else? A dozen others, saying this is a stunt, this is a horrible stunt, we're not going to agree with this. This could have been a beautiful opportunity for the Liberals to completely take over the official opposition. But they didn't. Now, of course, Poilievre, who could have been shut up about asking any more questions about this MOU, he'll be up every day in question period asking more questions about this MOU because Carney made the stupid decision not to back this plan. I only bring this up because, it's political science at its best, what you're watching right now, or shall I say at its worst. This is exactly what you're seeing happen. This is a government that does not even represent the people of Canada. It doesn't even represent Canada. It is a proxy government for crony capitalism. That's all this government is. It doesn't even represent Canadians anymore. And we have never seen this depth of corruption in the history of this country. I'm not even sure they had a corrupt government this bad in any other democratic country, including the United States. It's the sort of government that exists in the third world, where you have a corrupt leader siphoning off taxes and everything he can possibly grab from the public. And that's what Mark Carney's doing. This is a amoral, absolute bastard of an individual who is taking Canada to the cleaners.
I agree. It's I'll finish by saying this. We need new politicians that are not politicians that will do like Christ did in the Bible and start flipping tables. And one of the comments, I'm going to highlight it because, yes, you're absolutely right. Betty David is saying, Nico, you're off the wall. You have no fucking idea how off the wall that is. I actually am. I have to tone myself down for the camera because I get banned everywhere. But the truth and the matter is that I do what I do because I have a 5-month-old son that will never get to experience Canada, not the Canada I grew up in, and it fucking pisses me off. It pisses me off to see lazy fucking Canadians all over the place that don't care about what's happening to the country that I love. It pisses me off to no end that the politicians that are supposed to help us don't give a fuck. They're more concerned about their own career and representing globalists, unelected bureaucrats than they are protecting us, doing the right thing for us. And we're still fighting amongst each other, left versus right, like it really matters. This is all bread and circuses for the masses. The left versus right does not exist. It's a Uni-Party. There's no such thing as the left and the right. All there is top versus bottom, and the bottom is getting fucked. And we're so lazy and complacent that we are asking for more. And unfortunately, for the people that have awoken, for the people that understands what's going on, it's going to get fucking worse before it gets better. And unfortunately, that's a reality that I now accept. I don't think there's any other way that Canadians will wake up until their husbands, their wives, their friends start getting arrested for words online like we're seeing in the UK. I think this is what it's going to take, unfortunately.
I think you're right, Nico. I think you're absolutely right. And it's sad to say it, but I think so.
I hope I'm wrong. You have no idea how much to the core of my soul I hope I'm wrong, but unfortunately I think I'm right. Unfortunately. I want to be proven wrong though. Mr. David Creighton, I appreciate your time as always. This is that was a massive rant. I think we went an hour rant. It's
yeah, we did. We did.
I'm just blown. My mind is blown on a daily basis when I see the inaction going on everywhere, but it'll never stop me from speaking about it, and I know that it won't stop you from speaking about it. So good on you for what you do, and I'm going to continue doing it. And for all the people in the comment section, love your comments. Doesn't matter that you agree with me, you disagree with me. That's all good. All that matters is that we talk to each other no matter what we believe, because civil discourse is everything. So on that note, thank you for being here. Thank you for joining us. And we will see you next week at 6:30 p.m. for another episode of The Conservative Corner. Have a good night and see you next week.
Thank you, everybody. Been a pleasure as always, Nico.